Imagine surviving one of the coldest, bloodiest battles of World War II, not as a famous general, but as an ordinary paratrooper wondering every morning if that day would be his last. He wasn't supposed to make it home. The freezing forests of Belgium had already swallowed thousands of soldiers. German tanks were breaking through Allied lines, and every step through the snow could be someone's final one. Yet somehow he survived it all, and documented nearly every terrifying moment in a personal diary. Hidden inside are stories history books barely mention: sleeping in abandoned enemy barracks, being accused of desertion, a Christmas dinner served under enemy bombs, and one small object he carried everywhere, believing it kept him alive. Surviving Bastogne wasn't the hardest part. Living with the memories was. By late 1944, the fighting in France had finally slowed, and after 2 months of relentless combat, the exhausted paratroopers climbed into British trucks for a well-earned break. The convoy rolled for hours, past bomb craters and damaged buildings still carrying fresh wounds from the war, while overhead, German V-1 flying bombs crossed toward England, and Allied anti-aircraft guns fired tracers into the darkness, trying to knock them down. Whenever the convoy passed through a town, children rushed toward the trucks begging for gum or candy, and most veterans emptied their pockets while the adults simply asked for cigarettes, leaving many wondering why so many able-bodied men had stayed home while others crossed an ocean to fight. The convoy reached Mourmelon, France, where the camp looked promising at first, with solid stone buildings and warm stoves glowing against the cold. But appearances were deceiving. The barracks had once belonged to the German army, and inside were little more than straw mattresses, bare bulbs, and freezing rooms. After 72 straight days of combat, the men expected rest. Instead, they were ordered straight back into training. Long runs, drills, endless inspections. They had survived Normandy and countless artillery barrages, yet now they were treated as though they'd never seen combat. Nobody imagined how quickly their brief peace would disappear, because just when life seemed normal again, everything changed overnight. Eventually, the commanders couldn't keep battle-weary soldiers locked inside camp forever, and passes were finally approved. For many of the young paratroopers, Paris felt like another world. Its cafes open and its people laughing without fear of explosions. The author arrived with 2 close friends, sampling French drinks and wandering famous streets while trying to leave the horrors of combat behind. He admitted he was cautious about drinking too much, since losing control didn't seem wise after everything he'd experienced, but surrounded by trusted friends, he slowly relaxed. For a brief moment, he wasn't a soldier, just a young man exploring one of Europe's greatest cities. But the illusion didn't last. Without warning, orders spread through Paris. Every member of the 101st Airborne was to report back immediately. Rumors swept the streets, but everyone knew the celebration was over. History would later call it the Battle of the Bulge. Hitler had launched one final offensive through the Ardennes, hoping to split the Allied armies, and thousands of American troops were caught by surprise. Entire units surrounded, roads jammed with retreating vehicles, the freezing winter making everything worse. The author had barely unpacked from Paris before climbing into another convoy, heading straight into one of the deadliest battles of the war. The convoy struggled for days to reach Bastogne, traffic stretching for miles as tanks, ambulances, supply trucks, and frightened refugees fought for space on narrow frozen roads. While waiting for the roads to clear, a Belgian family welcomed the young paratrooper into their home, offering a warm meal and a feather bed, and for a few precious hours he experienced normal life again. But when he woke the next morning, his convoy had already left. He hurried toward Bastogne alone, eventually finding another ride before reaching his unit, and nothing prepared him for what he saw next. His command post had been set up inside a church, but instead of worshippers, it was filled with wounded soldiers, some crying out in pain, others lying completely silent as medics rushed between them. His commanding officer wasn't pleased either, warning that missing a convoy during wartime could have been treated as desertion. The young paratrooper answered honestly, "If I wanted to desert, I wouldn't have come back." The explanation ended the confrontation, but the danger was only beginning. The next morning, he joined the front lines. Snow covered everything. Temperatures dropped well below freezing, and soon he couldn't feel his feet, knowing frostbite could end his war before a German bullet ever did. He warmed each foot beneath his arms, replaced his wet socks with dry ones he'd wisely carried inside his jacket, and slowly brought circulation back before repeating the process. That simple decision may have saved him from permanent injury. Across the field waited German tanks and their infamous 88mm guns, weapons that could kill before you ever heard the sound. The front line wasn't a place of constant action. It was something far worse: waiting. Hour after hour, the men sat inside narrow foxholes, never knowing whether the next sound was the start of an attack or just wind moving through the trees. Soon the platoon moved deeper into the woods, riding tanks along snow-covered logging roads, and when daylight arrived, their new home was just another half-finished foxhole, so they dug deeper into the frozen earth. Then came another problem: almost nothing to protect them from the freezing ground. Looking across an open field, the paratroopers spotted a stack of straw that would make perfect insulation, but a German tank sat watching from the tree line, its 88mm gun capable of striking before the sound ever reached you. Still, he waited until dark, then sprinted across the frozen field, grabbed as much straw as he could carry, and rushed back to the foxhole, expecting the tank to fire with every step. Luck remained on his side, for now, because Christmas was approaching, and the battlefield had no intention of giving anyone a holiday. For most people, Christmas meant warmth, family, a good meal. For the men outside Bastogne, it meant another freezing night beneath the trees. As darkness settled, German bombers crossed overhead, dropping bombs on Bastogne in another attempt to crush the defenders, and the paratroopers watched flashes light up the sky while listening to the thunder of falling bombs. Later, word spread that a hot turkey dinner was on its way, and the exhausted soldiers marched through the dark woods until they reached a waiting half-track. But by then, the turkey had gone cold. After weeks on K-rations, even a lukewarm meal felt like a luxury. Morning brought no celebration, only more guard duty, deeper snow, and harder cold. Then one night, the paratrooper woke with an uneasy feeling that something wasn't right, and crawling from his foxhole, he discovered the soldier on guard had fallen asleep. He quietly woke him and replaced him with another man, and only minutes later gunfire echoed from the right flank as a German vehicle accelerated into the darkness. It hadn't been a full assault. It was a probe, the Germans searching for weak spots before a larger attack. The first days of January became some of the fiercest fighting the young paratrooper had ever witnessed. The forests echoed with artillery. Machine guns hammered through the trees, and smoke drifted across the snow until day and night blended together. He later admitted there was one battle when he believed his life had come to an end, as friends disappeared around him, some struck by shellfire, others never returning from patrol. Then something changed. For days, snowstorms had grounded Allied aircraft. But as the skies cleared, American P-47 Thunderbolts roared overhead, attacking German vehicles and artillery and slowly turning the tide. At the same time, Patton's Third Army broke through German lines, reopening the road to Bastogne, and Hitler's final gamble began to collapse. Soon, fresh infantry relieved the exhausted paratroopers, and after nearly a month outdoors in freezing cold and constant shell fire, they finally climbed aboard trucks headed away from the front. They had entered Bastogne as confident young soldiers and left as completely different men. As the fighting moved farther east, the memories of Bastogne refused to fade. Like many veterans, the paratrooper collected small souvenirs, finding binoculars inside a destroyed American tank and later a damaged .45 pistol he decided was too risky to keep. But the object that mattered most wasn't taken from the battlefield at all. It was a simple teaspoon he'd borrowed from his mother's kitchen before leaving for war. Originally, just a better spoon for rations, but over time a good luck charm carried before every combat jump. Whether it truly brought luck didn't matter. It gave him hope, and sometimes hope was the only thing keeping a soldier moving forward. The war also reminded him how unpredictable survival could be. One paratrooper survived Bastogne only to be accidentally shot by another American soldier during a nighttime relief, and a close friend never made it home. The greatest question wasn't how they won. It was why they had survived when so many others hadn't. The Battle of Bastogne became one of the defining moments of World War II. History remembers the strategy, the generals, and the victory. But hidden inside one soldier's diary is a different story. Freezing nights, impossible choices, quiet acts of courage.